Talk to us then about 8 and 9 that are coming up, and how is it that we came from 8, which was a great symphony, but 9 is
well,
off the
first of
charts?
all, between 8 and 9 is a huge gap. Huge gap. I mean, there's a gap of 15 years, basically. And so, of course, there is a huge contrast between the two symphonies. In 8, Beethoven actually came back to his first symphonies, to his classical period, forgetting about what he developed in his, so to say, romantic phase. Though I don't like these cliches. 8 is for me a neoclassical symphony. Sounds bizarre for a classical composer, but it's a neoclassical symphony, like in the style basically Prokofiev or Shostakovich later then wrote. So he re-explores the classical style and how far he could get with it. And very far he goes there. By using the form and compressing it. It's the shortest symphony of all, with the shortest slow movement. And this symphony is inspired, if I might, by the metronome and by the invention of the metronome. So Melzel, who was a great friend to Beethoven, and who also helped him to develop the first hearing aid devices for Beethoven, helped him all through all these years, invented this fabulous thing that changed the music industry. Whether it was always for the better or the worse, I don't know. But it is a big tool for us musicians. And that's when Beethoven started thinking about it. And we hear this tick, tick, tick in the metronome in this second movement, which is quite stunning. Becomes a very mechanical movement. And that's for a slow movement also quite revolutionary. So 9 is a completely different concept. It's really a symphony about humanity. What we hear in the beginning, these bubbles of the mud that the world was in the beginning. We hear these eruptions of volcanoes, and starting out of this mud, the life comes out.
Wagnerian.
It's very Wagnerian concept, but it's nature is God and God created nature, something like this feeling we have. And then a very warlike scherzo. He writes one of the most beautiful slow movements, with this very interesting effect of the fourth horn playing the biggest solo, which is very unusual. But it's used to the fact that the valve horns were now invented, the horns we know today, and he still liked the sound of the natural horns. So 1 and 2 were natural horns, 3 and 4 were valve horns. What he wrote, the solo was only playable for valve horns, so the fourth horn played it. And then he comes to this last movement, which is like very oratorio-like. He pushes everything so far in that third movement that if he doesn't want to compose an unfinished symphony like Schubert did, he basically need to reinvent the finale. And the only way of giving it another boost is bringing the human voice into this. And then the message, we all become brothers, that the message about brotherhood is a very strong one, and I think reflects to much earlier piece, his opera Fidelio, which was always one of his kids he was schlepping around all his life. And I think maybe later he would have come back to Fidelio and write another version of it. But Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is wrapping this idea of Fidelio, of freedom, and we become brothers, wrapping it up and becoming one with nature and God. It's a very beautiful message, and still one of the strongest pieces on the music
Well, he
podium.
started writing symphonies just after 1800.
1800. So
where are we at 8 and 9?
We are now at 1825.
Right near his death.
He died in 27, so it's one generation of symphony writing in these 9 symphonies.